This video explains the use of the Scithos model to simulate tourist behavior. Every simulation is based on a scenario. These scenarios are defined using a simple spreadsheet. At the start of the simulation, these spreadsheets are automatically converted into simulation data. This makes it very easy to create new scenarios based on existing scenarios and to temporarily change some data to examine how the simulation will respond to these minor changes. In the spreadsheets, the personas used are defined, what accommodations and other resources are connected to specific areas. Also, rules can be defined how the behavior of tourists and inhabitants will change based on their personas and existing bucket list. Persona rules define which kind of resources a persona favors and eventually what resources will be boosted after a resource is consumed. Here you see a simulation in progress. In this case, the scenario involved is the OV flex scenario. In this scenario, an extra fast bus line is added between Domburg and Middelburg. Movements of tourists and inhabitants are visualized using icons. Resources are split into accommodations and attractions. Accommodations are also visible and are spread around the area they are connected to. You can vary the amount of resources appropriate for every scenario. For this scenario, parking lots are added to Domburg to be able to make the center of Domburg car-free. The simulation is run during a number of consecutive days. The number of elapsed days and hours are displayed at the top left of the simulation. It will stop right now after 10 days, and at the end some metrics are stored so that they can be analyzed afterwards. Right now metrics concerning kilometers per mobility and carbon dioxide emission are stored. To validate the model during the simulation, you can switch between the simulation on a map and the display of the data underlying this model. If you select the Data tab, you can see the state of the model. The number of visitors per area are displayed and also the resources used. The resources are split up in accommodations where the tourists and inhabitants are residing and the resources or attractions they are visiting based on their bucket list. You can also see how some metrics are evolving. Here are displayed average carbon dioxide generated by these movements. If you take a look at the Tourist tab, you can see how the specific tourists are behaving. In this screen, the behavior of a tourist is described. They start at the base of operation. Then they are starting their consumption cycle based on their bucket list. Every tourist is based on a persona, and per persona a bucket list is generated for every tourist. This bucket list is changed based on their consumption pattern, using general rules or rules specific for their persona. If you want to examine the content of the current bucket list and what resources a tourist has visited during their stay, you can select the item involved. At the end of the day, the tourist returns to their base of operation. At the end of the simulation, computed metrics are displayed and also stored on disk so they can be analyzed afterwards. Currently, for this model, mobility data is computed Other data can be extracted based on specific needs and models. These data can be stored in a spreadsheet to analyze it. For instance, you could be interested in the percentage tourists that use cars if they would lessen if an extra bus line would be introduced.